What a great day. Sun's out. Nice to be back at PROBUS again. I'll just give people a chance to get seated.
We are about to start. Please take your seats. Thank you.
Okay, once again, good morning. There are lots of seats up here at the front. I see some over on the side over there. And we're going to get our meeting underway. Once again, welcome back to the new season of PROBUS. And a special welcome to our YouTube viewers. Once again, thanks for stopping by. We all appreciate being greeted at the door by Ann Boudra and Ruth Thompson. Always nice to see a smiling face when we arrive. On a sad note, I want to take the time to acknowledge the passing of club member Esther Devlin on July 17. And let's just take a moment to respect Esther's passing. Thank you. It's important for you to be aware of a Toronto police notice regarding distraction thefts. I'm just going to quickly read a little bit from this article from the Toronto Star, so everyone should be cognizant of this. Toronto police are running a patrol blitz regarding distraction thefts targeting seniors across the city. There have been 374 distraction thefts across Toronto so far this year, an explosive growth from last year that saw just 28 incidents. At a press conference, they said thefts involve someone diverting a victim's attention before swiping something valuable like jewelry, wallets, or phones. The perpetrators target 60 to 90-year-olds. I guess that's us. During daylight hours on weekdays, the snatchings mostly occur in commercial parking lots, city streets, and outside of victims' properties, where the suspects latch onto their targets by asking for directions, starting an argument, or asking the victims to pray with them. Mann said it's hard to make arrests because these people disappear before the victim knows anything is wrong. We just wanted to bring that up because we're all in that vulnerable spot. Speaking of distractions, let's make sure that our iPhones are turned off. I'll turn mine off too. Thank you. So here we go. I'm asking if anyone has guests to introduce, and I know Ellen does. So we'll get David Churchill to bring you a mic.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have two guests to introduce. My first guest is Sally Dion. Sally, if you don't mind standing up and saying hello to everyone. We're fellow paddlers with the Seniors Canoe Club, and Sally's looking forward to learning more about PROBUS. Sally Dion. And my second guest today is Joan Eaglesham. Joan Eaglesham, and Joan has several friends who have told her about PROBUS clubs, and she's here today to find out about ours. So say hello to her if you get a chance. Thank you.
As well, we've got Fran Holden has two guests. If you can put your hand up, Fran, so Dave knows where to go.
Hello. I have two guests as well, as you know, and these are very old friends that I play bridge with and have book club together with. And so the first one's Kathy McGee, if you'd like to stand up, and Bonnie Gregg is the other one here.
And as well, Yvonne Day has two guests to introduce. Just put your hand up, Yvonne, so.
Hello there. I've brought two people that happen to live in the same building I do. Now, this is a challenge. They're considering joining, but they belong to PROBUS in Newfoundland and in Milton, I believe. Since 2007, they have belonged to PROBUS. So I'd like to introduce Len and Doreen Bennick.
Is there anyone else that I've missed? Whoop, over on the right, David. At third row from the back.
Hello, I'm here with my wife, Joan Cohen, who's becoming a member here. My name's Marv Cohen. We were here 20 years ago. We've been in Collingwood, Blue Mountain for the last 20 years. We've come back. I used to own the Remax offices. My wife has definitely joined. I'm thinking of it, or maybe just going to the men's, I'm not sure. But anyway, thank you again, and we're going to enjoy Guelph once more time.
Our PROBUS Club welcomes you, and we hope you have a good time with us here today. And we'll just take a moment to introduce a new member to you, Ellen. I think Ellen might need a mic.
So, is this the mic we're using? Yeah. Okay, hello again, everyone. I just introduced two guests who are visiting our meeting today. Here I have a little something to say. We ask our new members to write a short paragraph about themselves, which we call the "Who Am I?", telling us a little about themselves, their families, work, travel, interests, etc. You can write your "Who am I" in the first person or the third person, whichever you are most comfortable with. The new member then comes up on stage with me, and I read their "Who am I" to the membership. We usually have at least 4 to introduce. However, due to various reasons, we have just Keith to introduce today. So, here we go. So this is Keith Davidge. Keith Davidge. I have now resided in Rockwood together with my West Highland Terrier and 2 Siamese cats for 22 years. I arrived in Canada 50 years ago from the south of England with my wife Valerie and 2 young children. The years have flown, and I have 5 wonderful and successful grandchildren, the oldest 30, and the youngest, my son's twin girls, who are 22. I am, by British qualification, a mechanical engineer. The majority of my working life here in Canada was with Sayers and Associates Limited for 27 years. At the time, the largest mechanical contractor in Ontario, finally becoming a vice president. I was involved in construction management of large commercial projects, mainly in the city of Toronto. I have now been retired for 12 years. My lifetime passion has been bicycle racing, and I was an elite competitor in Europe for 12 years. I then became an official and was for a time Chief Commissaire of Ontario. I was also a commentator. Another of my loves is singing, and I was, with my dear wife, my dear late wife, a member of the Silvertones Senior Choir for 9 years. Sadly, I lost Valerie in May of 2021. My family and I have always loved the outdoors and have had numerous trips over the years, hiking, canoeing, and camping. I should probably say glamping. I am a member and lay reader of St. John's Anglican Church in Rockwood and am proud to have received the Order of Niagara, which I personally Googled, and I invite you to do the same. Order of Niagara. I look forward to my time with PROBUS and the chance to make new friends. Keith Davidge, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom Watson is going to introduce our speaker today. So I'll ask Tom to come to the podium here. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, President Jim and fellow members. It was my pleasure this morning to meet our guest speaker, Paul Eagles, just before we started our meeting. Paul is a distinguished professor emeritus at the University of Waterloo, following his tenure as professor from 1979 to 2014. His primary appointment was to the Department of Recreation and Leisure Studies, with a cross-appointment to the School of Planning. During his academic career, he was involved in the thesis work of 271 students. He has 55 years of planning experience, specializing in environmental, recreation, and tourism planning. He undertook planning and research in these fields in over 40 countries and has 443 publications, of which 143 are refereed. According to Google Scholar, these publications have been cited over 12,000 times. Speaking to us this morning about the health benefits of park visitation, please welcome Paul Eagles.
All right, how's it? Oh, the sound is great, wonderful. My name is Paul Eagles. I'm pleased to be with you. And do you know why? Because you're knowledge seekers. You are here to listen to a hoary old professor and hope that you learn something. So we'll see what we can do here. My talk today is on national parks, the health benefits of visitation. Some research we did later on in my career with Professor Chris Lemieux at the Laurier University in Geography. We worked in Alberta. So I put together a talk today for us, and there are three parts to the talk. I'm going to give just 3 or 4 slides on the concept of a park, specifically national park. Then I'm going to profile 5 of them. I'd love to do 50, but we don't have time. And then I will talk about briefly the research outcomes, what we found in Alberta provincial parks. So let's start with the first one. Well, I'm a Canadian, and we have a fellow here that just became a member who's from England. I say the first national park in the world was New Forest, created by King William I in 1079. And what was that New Forest? It was for 2 purposes. One is for recreation, and the other is conservation. The only bad news is it took 600 years for the common people to be allowed into these places. But nevertheless, I relate that as the first in the world. Now, if you're American, you say Yellowstone, because nothing happened before the America, right? So we have in Kew in England again a United Nations agency that keeps track of, believe it or not, every park in the world. Massive database, continually updated, massive issues of getting data and calibrated and so on. But I show you this graph just to point out one point. Look at the growth. We've now got enough parkland, it's almost equivalent to the area of South America. And I took this off the internet. This is the map from that same World Conservation Monitoring Center in Kew. The blue are marine parks and the green are national parks. They're a bit hard to see in this well-lit environment here. Nevertheless, you'll see it's a worldwide phenomenon and a successful one. And for 15 years, I was chair of a committee called the World Commission on Protected Areas Tourism Caucus. So my job was to work with people all over the world on policy of how to manage people in these places. And I was honored to be invited by the United Nations in 2002 to publish the United Nations Guidelines on Tourism Management in National Parks. So a few data on the worldwide current data. As of 2025, I did this last week, so it's up to date. 16.43% of the Earth's surface is in some form of park or reserve. Massive, but don't underestimate the management challenges of all of that. And 16.43% of the Earth's land surface in some form of park, and marine coverage is 22. Now, this is expanded dramatically. Marine parks, we don't value what's in the water like we value what's in land. So it's taken us a long time to get some kind of conservation, and with continuous fighting with those who want to extract from that. But the biggest challenge are open ocean, only 9.61%. And the open ocean, of course, has no status. And nobody owns it. Who manages it? How do you keep out, how do you get sustainable fisheries and so on? Major problem. But the marine target is 10% of all waters. The land target is 17. International meetings have decided that. Canada, under the last Trudeau government, promised 30%. But my view is they're going very slow on that. So I picked one area of the world just to show you, and this is Australia and New Zealand. And you'll see the massive blue, that is marine, and the massive green, and that is some form of land park. I've been to Australia 11 times. It's my second home. I've worked in all of those areas, and I really enjoy working with Australians. Australians and Canadians hit it off. They test you, and they give you a bunch of blarney for a while. And if you pass that test, away you go. I'd love to tell you Australians trying to put one on Canadians. So I've decided to pick 5, and the reason I'm going to pick 5 is that I can't do longer. I'm going to do Jasper National Park in Canada, Kruger National Park in South Africa, Great Barrier Reef in Australia, Poplitvice National Park in Croatia, and Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve in Costa Rica. All the photographs you're about to see I took. I have some level of background working in these parks, from just being a visitor through to being a government consultant on the projects. I've done all sorts of roles. So let's go to Canada. Start with Canada. These are the 4 mountain parks, which many of you know: Jasper, Banff, Kootenay, and Yoho. I've been there as a visitor, been there as a consultant, and had many former students work there. Now, as far as the grizzly bears are concerned, that's one system. But we put it in different colors because we administer it. But the nice thing is it's a massive land system with wildlife can move all over with not unfettered movement. One of the most famous places is Spirit Lake in Jasper. You have to take a boat to get there. And isn't that fantastic landscape? It's just wonderful. Now this is Athabasca Falls, and we're going to see if my video works. Thank you. The water goes through the center of Banff and Jasper into the Bow River, which then goes towards the east. And at times there's massive water flow. But it's all in national park, so it's relatively easy to manage. The big management issues you have here is recreation use on the river, danger, and so on. But they do have a number of rare birds. One of them is harlequin duck, and people want to raft through the harlequin duck habitat in breeding season. That's a management issue they're dealing with. Now, the biggest problem in Jasper recently has been the fires. I won't talk much about it unless you want to. 4 pictures of management here, 4 different issues. One is the Icefields Parkway. Now, who would think that a glacier is political? Well, it is. Some governments don't want you to see the decreasing amount of ice. So when they're in power, they take away all the signs. Other parties say, well, you should see it, that a glacier has gone from that red truck up in the last 40 years, and they have signs, 1886 and so on, right up so you can see the melting glacier. Climate change in the mountains is really well documented, good staff, professional staff, and they've told me that the tree line is 100 meters higher in the mountains than it used to be. So what's going on? Aboriginal people, important, and they have festivals each year for Aboriginal people. Big game, it's got a complete ecosystem, so they have all the big game with all the associated problems. And one of the issues they have with the big game is illegal poaching. Now, it's extremely expensive if you get caught poaching a bighorn sheep. It's $25,000. I remember when the legislation was being debated, it was brought in by the Liberal government of the day, and there was a big debate. Is the fine so big that the poachers will kill the police? That was one of the dangers. It hasn't happened. We've never had a ranger or police killed in a national park in Canada. In the United States, it's a different issue. All right, and then the tramway. They have high levels of tourism, and one of the ways you can get up to the top of the mountain is tramways. The park has heavy use with large mammals. Maybe you can't see it, but at the top corner, you have a lovely chair. And Parks Canada has put these chairs in places around the park, and you just sit and watch. I love it. It's subtle. You're just walking along, and oh, there's a chair. At my age, it's a wonderful thing to find. They have the older national parks in Canada and the U.S. have high levels of accommodation, so they have lodges. We haven't built a lodge in National Park for almost 100 years, but the old ones are still there. And then I had to show you a photograph of the road. Trans-Canada Highway goes through this. And so does the Trans-Canada rail line. And the biggest death of animals are those trains and those cars. Now the trains are really under control in the sense that we've been finding some money to put fences along. There's a long way to go on the trains, but the cars, if you go through Banff and Jasper now, you'll see fences on the side with overpasses. And they were the first major agency in the world to overpasses for the wildlife. And Jack Woods, I happen to know, a golf grad, started managing and understanding how the animals were using them. Short story, they work. So the animals are using the overpasses to fill their life and not getting hit in the road. But there's a picture there, and it's hard for you to see, but there is a bighorn sheep in the middle of the road. So I stopped just so I could take it, so someday I could show that to my students or to you. Now, Kruger National Park, one of the oldest national parks in the world, and back in the 1800s, created by Paul Kruger, called Kruger. It's an Afrikaner's park. It's large, and you'll see it's on the northeast side of what is now South Africa. I put an inset map there showing the length of the park. It's about 500 kilometers north to south, about 150 kilometers east to west, and it's absolutely magnificent. It's hard to see in this room, but there's darker color here. The national park is in light green. The private game reserves are in dark green. Now, the greater ecosystem in Kruger National Park and area has 9 price levels for the same thing. That's viewing wildlife. 9 price levels. The bottom is a fence with a piece of soil where you can put your tent, and that's $10. Fence to keep lions out of your bedroom. The top are something that I didn't know even existed till I got there. And what do they cater to? They cater to people who are too famous to travel. So think about them. Where does the king or the queen go? Where does the president go? Where does the international tennis people go for a vacation? They can't go anywhere because they're just thronged. So they go there. And one of them, called Mala Mala, specializes on the International Tennis Federation, and they have all the facilities for training in the campsite where they have, so that people can come, train, and exercise. And the reason I know that, I met a man whose daughter was a physiotherapist there and a trainer, and I think it was Steffi Graf gave her a tip of $5,000. Now that's a lot of money for anybody, but for a South African girl, it's really something. Wildlife, of course, of what we all go to Kruger to see. Got all the big game. I could spend hours talking about the management policies. I can't, but I hope you like the picture of the glossy starling. Oh, there is something else in that photo. And of course, the rhinos are very attractive to see and to view, but they're a major management headache because of Arab people, men, who want a rhino horn handle on their ceremonial knife. And they'll pay almost any money for rhino horn. And therefore, the park has a shooting war with gangs of poachers coming in, and they actually have each other killing each other. The wardens killing the poachers and vice versa. I could tell you stories, but I won't tell you anymore. They also have fabulous blinds. I'll show you one in the next photo. There's a picture of an anhinga stabbing a fish right in front of me. It's in a blind, where it's a photographic blind. In you go, and it's wonderful. Now, if you want to view rhinos, it's maybe good to take a hike. Only here are you allowed to hike. Usually you're in a cage, which we call a car or a van. So, in South Africa, you can go out hiking. And you have 2 guides with you, one at the front and one at the back, both carrying elephant rifles. They don't use them to damage the animals unless they get charged. So our guide told us the following: never let the rhino know you're coming, because he'll automatically charge. Always let the elephant know you're coming. don't surprise an elephant. So just as I took this picture, the rhino put his head up, and he sensed we were there. He couldn't see us because he got very poor sight, so our guide just did this. Back off. So we walked away, and the rhino never did detect us. But it's pretty stimulating to be in there. And if you haven't seen the movie Gods Must Be Crazy, look it up. It's it's the most famous South African movie ever. Gods Must Be Crazy. It's the view of Western society through a San tribesman. So some photos I just took around the park. The large buffalo, who they're the prey of lions, but they do as well on the lions. They kill lions frequently. A jacana on a water feature, a battledore eagle showing its heraldry form. If you know the heraldry of eagles, the wings are up. I never saw it until I was looked out, and there it was. And a sunbird. You know, you all have seen hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are in the Americas only, and they are evolved to eat nectar, and they're brightly colored. In Asia and Africa, sunbirds do exactly the same thing, but they're a different family totally. Now here's one of my favorite short videos. I was in the back of an open vehicle in a dry water area. The Australians would call it a billy bong. And we came across this female leopard stalking a water buck. Did you hear the guinea fowl at the end? The guinea fowl were alerting the animal he was being stalked. And the reason I didn't talk is I wanted you to hear that. And so the animal ran away, and the leopard didn't get it. That was right outside our bedroom complex. All right, a little bit about the tourism in Kruger. We have a restaurant there in Skukuza. Kruger has town sites, and you go in through them. They have barbed wire and big fences around them, and you are in the cage at night, and the animals are not allowed in. So it's fairly safe. There's a viewing platform where you get out of your car and walk towards the viewing platform. A rondovel, which Dutch means roundhouse, where you stay. Wonderful place. But I have to talk about people. So I want to talk about the four people you see. I was visiting there once, and I had the good fortune of having 2 hours of the chief park ranger. That's David Mabunda. Now, I call David a mountain climber. Why? He did three remarkable things. First black man to get a PhD in tourism. Hard to get black people in Australia, in South Africa in the past, not now, to get tourism. So he had a PhD in tourism. Second, he was the first senior park manager that wasn't a wildlife biologist. He was a tourism official. Third, he was given the biggest challenge ever. Nelson Mandela told the national parks, you get no more money. If we have money, it goes to poor people in basic services, water, electricity, not into facilities for tourists. So he had to manage the Parks Agency to transfer from a government-funded agency to a tourism-funded agency. And David was successful in all three. Now, David and I kind of bonded, and he did something I've never had a CEO of an agency do. He used to phone me. And it's a highly political job. When you're CEO of the company or the corporation that owns and runs Kruger, you have 1 million people wanting you to do things or not wanting you to do things. So he'd phone me and say, Paul, I've got this management issue. What do you think I should do? I never told anybody that I just talked to him. And we'd have advice, and I never knew what he did with my advice, but I like that. Now, we're still in touch. And unfortunately, David lost his sister last week. She's of that age. The other man is the director of provincial parks for the province of Mpumalanga, which Kruger is adjacent to. But I got to tell you about Goodness Hosa. Now, Goodness is a Hosa. Now, Hosa has adopted some of the Click language from the San people. So her name is Goodness Hosa. She'd laugh at me doing that, but that's the way I heard interpreted it. She was the CEO secretary, and she kept him going. Where do you go now? Where do you go? And so on. She was just dynamite. A little bit about the people. Now, let's go to Great Barrier Reef. Magnificent feature off northeastern Australia, the largest, most significant coral reef complex in the world. And absolutely beautiful. That's Heron Island. Now, Heron Island is one of the two places where you can go out on the reef and stay overnight. Everywhere else you have to stay on the mainland. But the majority of the visitors do not swim, cannot swim. Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, Indonesians don't learn swimming as a child. So they can't swim, so they have to do glass bottom boats. And that's a glass bottom boat. I only show you one picture of the life underneath the water. It is spectacular. And I once flew out to the reef after a conference in Brisbane, and I ended up hobnobbing with an elder hostel group. Fabulous Americans and Canadians who were there to learn, just like you guys. And I always love, look how keen they are. I just wished in all the field trips I did with my students, they were as keen. They were just great. The man holding the stand with white hair was an American soldier in World War II, and he was a mountain troop. He was designed for mountain army. Now, the reef is large, and there are all the species, turtles, birds, fish, and so on, live there. That's a noddy. Why do I show you a picture of a noddy? It's a kind of a bird like a tern. Because they were nesting right around our cabin when we were at Heron Island, making quite a squawk all night long. It's pretty spectacular. But I got up in the morning, and I walked to the other end of the island, and this is what I saw. This is a video. Now, this green turtle population is not exploited, so they're not terribly scared of people. And I've seen a video, not taken by me, but much better photographers than I, of over 1,000 green turtles waiting to come in and breed on Heron Island. All right, Heron Island and other sites are well offshore. P&O has boats that take you out to Heron Island. And when you get to the island, I have glass bottom boats and so on. And that's my wife and our youngest son, Rob. And in that island, there was no dock, so we had to jump off and walk in. That's why they're like that. It is simply magnificent. Love it. However, their biggest management issue is warming climate. And the reef is badly damaged by too warm temperatures. You probably heard this. What happens with the coral, when it gets warm, it expels the symbiotic algae that live in the coral, and they turn white, and then the coral dies. And in some years, and about every 4 years they get a bleaching, about half the coral dies. Now, I haven't been there to know what the state it is. I don't know what state it is, and I don't know how extensive it is, but it's not good news, and it's not beyond the ability of the park to do anything, right? They can't control carbon in the atmosphere. Now let's go to Plitvice. This is something, one of my more recent projects. When Yugoslavia broke up, there was a massive and bad civil war that you probably heard about. Croatia and Serbia had a difficult war. But out of that, this national park, which was created during the Tito years in what is now Croatia, ended up in Croatia. The Serbs maintain it should be theirs. But it survived the battles, and it's in really, really good shape. But I did talk to a park manager one day who said the day before he almost stepped on a landmine. And so they still have issues. So they have over 1,000 kilometers of these boardwalks, and they're simply logs that are split in half, very rough, but narrow. Beautiful, very organic, but it creates a limitation, a physical limitation. Now, there are over 1,000 waterfalls in Plitvice. So what is going on? How do you get 1,000 waterfalls? The water is coming through limestone. It's a karst topography here. And it gets hypercalcinated, lots of calcium. As it is exposed to the air, some of the calcium comes out. So at the tips of the waterfalls, the edge of the water is constantly growing. So they go up. And they constantly change as the calcium is deposited. One of the things I want to show you there is the fish. They do not allow killing of fish, which I love. I wish we'd stop killing fish in our parks all over. They're the only group we badly exploit, but they don't here. You're not allowed to swim in this water. They don't want anything off people's body in the water. You're not allowed to fish. I'll only mention on these photographs the fields. Part of the park are old farms that are millennia old. And they've created a habitat which is really wonderful for parkland and open country birds. So the day I was there, the cuckoos were calling, just going, and it was magical, bouncing off. Now they spend the winters south of the Sahara, and they come to here to breed. And a series of the woodlarks and the skylarks were in the air twittering. It was magical. And you can see some of the waterfalls there. Okay, what's their problem? Overuse. See the building in the park? I asked what that was about. And they said, oh, that a Serb was married to a Croat and both armies attacked them. So that was in the park. Well, I was brought in, and I can't tell you all the details, but there were 5 years we worked on a new management plan. We developed a new management plan under the auspices of the United Nations Environment Program. It's now been implemented, and it's successful. Monteverde, Costa Rica. This is not a national park. This is a private park in the mountains of Costa Rica. Costa Rica is probably the most forward environmental country in the world. If you haven't heard about it, and there it is. There's the continental divide. To my left is the Caribbean slope, and to the right is the Pacific slope. Filled with magnificent orchids and giant anteaters and spider monkeys and golden toads. It's magical for a naturalist. With a very good tourist industry outside, all funded by donations and fees and charges, and successful. There is what the land looked like when they started buying it. They got rid of the squatters, and it's regrown to rainforest. This is difficult for you to see, but it shows, look at the dark green. The dark green is the amount of forest. This is 1940, look at the amount of forest. This is 2005. And you'll notice the light green, that is reforested areas. How are they paying for that? 2 taxes. A penny a liter on water that anybody gets on any government agency, and a penny a liter on all gasoline and fuels, and they fund, and they pay people to keep forest. So they don't have to cut it down for grade B beef. All right, now my last talk. Travel motives. Why do we travel? What do we look for? What do we hope to achieve? So we did a study in Alberta Provincial Parks on what benefits you expect and get from visitation. But this is from Google, and it's the use of Google during the pandemic. This red line is the change in use. And during the pandemic, everything was down except around people's houses and in parks, and it went up 150%. It showed that where do you go? What do you like? When the chips are down, you go to parks. So we did 10 attributes, and I can't go into it. They're very carefully done from existing literature of sociology on asking people their motives. And I think I'll talk about it with the next slide. It was 7-point scale, 1,515 responses, all done on tablets, by the way, no paper. People just asked them, check, check, check. But here's the big thing. It was 95% response rate. That is unheard of. I have never seen anybody, and I've done many surveys, of that response rate. My interpretation is that when you say I'm doing a health benefits of visitation, people go, yes, I'm all over this. I'll take the time off my hike, or whatever they were doing. We did it in the park. And high education level. We find this, of course, in all parks. 36% had a university degree, and 53% were with children. But I want to get to the figures. This is what we found. Important is green. Psychological well-being, 90-some% say that that's what they're after. But you notice all of our attributes were high in green. Psychological, social, environmental, physical, ecological, spiritual, financial, intellectual. The only ones below 50% are occupational and economic. Makes sense. How are you going to make money off visiting a park? I don't think you're making money off visiting a park. I think you feel better about your job after you've gone hiking for a couple of weeks. So therefore, you say you get occupational benefits. By the way, this graph is the first time this has ever been published in the park tourism literature. And when we found this, we were embarrassed. Why? Because we never asked it before. No one had ever asked it before. And so it became very highly cited in the literature. 67.8% of the sample perceived health and well-being improvement. So we didn't ask what you were looking for. We asked, did you find it? Yes, you found it. This is really good news. So this suggests, I say suggest, that's a wimpy word. This shows perceived benefits match the motivation. So people are getting what they wanted. But there were 2.3% said some aspect was not good. Any idea what that might be? Number one was asthma. Children? I have an asthmatic wife and an asthmatic child, so I know all about it. So if you get a bad, I don't know, my wife's even affected by the smoke from a fire, a camping fire. So 2.3, and of course we have kids breaking their arms, we have bee stings, and kids fall down and get bruised. So that's the 2.3%. So I have one slide, we cut this data many ways, on child development. And notice the child development attributes, improvements of child development. The mean is on a scale of 1 to 7. I don't know whether you can read it, but everything, the lowest is 5.5%. That's respiratory issues. Remember I said about asthma? The highest is 6.22. So, the respondents, which are parents and grandparents, saying they see significant improvement in their children or grandchildren from the visitation. Now that's a great take home. But guess what? The women see more improvement than the men do. What's that about? Well, I kind of interpret the women are more with it, and that they're watching the attributes of the children more than the fathers or grandfathers are. So this shows that in Alberta, we have strong evidence of the importance of parks and protected areas, visitation to the health of the people. But here's the kicker. The budgets for parks are pittance compared to the health agencies. The big ones, the hospitals and all that. Parks are funded through user fees and charges. And we have a philosophy that it's free. It's not free. You still need staff. You still need to build facilities. You need to pick up the garbage. So you need money. There's little recognition of governments or civil society that these are in the health envelope. So the effort now is worldwide to get the health industry, which is huge, to recognize that park visitation can have a health benefit, and some small bit of funding should go that way. And of course, I end off with pictures of my sons. Now those guys, the little guy in the yellow jacket has 3 boys and is now 42 years old. So that was a while ago. But I want you to show that we've been doing it as a family. And these are more recent pictures. Now the grandkids are in there. And there's a passel of our grandchildren and nieces, all of which we go out in park visitation. So this finding aligns with what we have experienced as parents and now as grandparents. Jim.
Paul, this has been wonderful. Thank you. And I'll officially ask Wilma Churchill. Oh, before we do, are there any questions? Let's see what we've got.
Paul, I've had the privilege of visiting Jasper Park both in summer and winter. Mm-hmm. The last time I was in Jasper was in the winter, and it was minus 46.
Right.
But it was, sun was shining like this. It was cold, but no wind, incomparable beauty. And drive on the Trans-Canada and the Caribou were about 18 inches from the windshield of our car.
Yeah, that's scary.
It was super, yeah.
Yeah. Sir.
Yeah, I've been promoted. Thank you. 2 things. About a year ago, this timeline, a significant number of men from our men's club, we went on a little walking tour of the correctional center grounds, and it was, as you say, enlightening. We went out to lunch after that. Everyone was very excited and very happy to do so. And there's a move afoot here to turn that area into an urban park.
Right.
Which I think would be an excellent idea. I'm a retired teacher. When we first started teaching, environmental education was very big. Kids were out of the classroom a lot. We examined the schoolyard, parks in the area. And now, I think they feel happy to trap them in school most of the time. And I'm wondering, do you see, or is there a move afoot to get the kids out and examine the outdoors?
Well, the politics of that was Mike Harris, followed up by Rob Ford. The right-wing governments do not want the children to know about nature. It's absolutely bull. Keep them ignorant. I'm sorry, I'm strong on that, because we had an excellent environmental education system in many, many schools with school centers. The Toronto Island system was closed down by Harris. One of the most significant environmental education centers in the world on Toronto Island. It's gone. So the place for city kids to go out there. So the way to keep people acquiescent is to keep them ignorant. I'm sorry, I'm very strong on this.
And so are most of us here. Thank you for that.
Okay. So
Any
no,
other
I
questions?
don't see it increasing. It's really hard now.
Anyone else with questions here? Ellen?
I just wanted to say that I had the good fortune to visit Lake Plitvice many years ago, and it was one of the most beautiful lakes I ever visited.
Which lake?
Lake Plitvice
Don't know it.
in Croatia.
Oh, okay.
The one you were speaking of.
Oh, Plitvice. Yeah, okay.
Plitvice. It was remarkable because no boats except electric boats
Right.
have ever been allowed on it. And it's the clearest, most beautiful color a lake I've ever seen. It's so clear that when you walk along all those boardwalks he spoke of, you can see the whole aqua life of the bottom of the lake just walking along these boardwalks. So if anyone ever finds themselves with the opportunity, it's beautiful and well worth it.
Bob Eccles, Dave?
Are there any more questions?
Bob Eccles on the left side.
Dave's hiding back in there.
We've had the good fortune of being able to do a lot of traveling in our retirement, but the highlight was flying in the morning, flying south towards Sydney out of Cairns, and we had snorkeled the day before on the reef, and it was 11 o'clock, totally clear. I was on the window seat facing east, and the sun, and I had a view the whole 10 or 15 minutes of the Barrier Reef with the sun on it and all those colors. Sorry, and I will never forget that.
Pretty magnificent, isn't it? But let me tell you in a little politics here. I'm heavily involved with the observer of politics in Australia. The right-wing governments don't want to do anything on carbon limitation, even though their own reef is being damaged.
We've got one more question over on the sidelines.
That was great. But I wanted to talk about Jasper. It's 40 years since I've been to Jasper. At that time, the glacier was only about 200 yards from the road.
Right.
You must have been there recently. How far has it receded?
Quite a lot, and it's becoming dangerous. And did you see last year one of the buggies fell in a crevice and killed some people? I don't know the politics around that. Sorry, any management issues, politics. Like who was driving? Did they not understand where they were doing? But nevertheless, it's becoming dangerous of actually driving on that. It's the only place in Canada I know you can drive on a glacier. But I'm sure they've cleaned up. Jasper is a fabulous place, and just by coincidence, one of my grandsons is Jasper. And I've said to Jasper, the grandson, your dad and I got to get you there before I'm too old. And we'll do that as soon as we can. He's now 8, so we can travel. His little brother's 4, so we'll try to get them both there. Thank you.
I'm watching to see if there are any other hands in the air. If
Thank
not,
you. Thank you for your interest. See why I love coming out in the morning to a PROBUS club? You're such keeners.
So we're going to ask Wilma Churchill to thank. This is the part where you have to step down to Wilma.
Yeah. Here we go.
Thank you for coming and sharing your insights and all of your stories and so on that you've collected over the many years of travel and lecturing and publishing. So, and this audience is of the vintage that we're very interested in health issues, right? And being outside and so on with rocks and trees and water is very beneficial, right?
Yeah.
Especially for the brain, and we're concerned about our brains these days, aren't we?
I hope everybody's concerned about their brains.
So, anyway, we used to, well, we can do the treadmill and walking in the mall, but it's not the same, is it? Not at all. And historically, many of us have gone to Florida to be out in the fresh air, but not so much anymore, right? Have you noticed that? Not as many people go to Florida right now. But anyway, thank you for coming, and we hope that you have many more opportunities to share your wisdom and knowledge.
Thank you very much. You're just lucky you didn't get me on stories. I could go on forever.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. This was a most interesting morning. I'm taking presidential privilege here. It's 11 o'clock. But there are 2 more things before we close. One is a reminder that there's a short AGM prior to the October general meeting. And as well, this is my final full meeting as president of PROBUS, and I want to thank each one of you for your thoughtfulness, consideration, and assistance along the way. This club has a dedicated management committee, and I want the committee members, anyone that is on that committee, to stand up and be acknowledged. Anyone here that's on the management committee or part of the management group? PROBUS itself has a vital purpose to stimulate thought, interest, and participation in activities at a time in life when it is easy to become complacent, as well to provide regular gatherings to those who in retirement appreciate and value opportunities to meet others in similar circumstances and of a similar level of interest. This team and their assistants keep our PROBUS Club of Guelph running smoothly, and I appreciate all of their support. Thank you. Our next meeting is on Thursday, October 9. Our guest speaker will be Angie Sandow, Finding Joy at Every Stage of Aging. Now, just before you go, you know the way I am here, 3 bits of humor about getting older. My mind still thinks I'm 25. My body thinks my mind is an idiot. 2, I see people around my age mountain climbing. I feel good getting my leg through my underwear without losing my balance. And finally, remember, if you lose a sock in the dryer, it comes back as a Tupperware lid that doesn't fit any of your containers. This concludes our September meeting. Thank you.